Chris and Lonica, right? That's
Yes.
the correct order, right?
Got it. Wow, you're on top of it.
All right.
And did we pick a prayer person? Let's pick someone to do the prayer right at this moment. Does anyone want to volunteer to do the prayer that hasn't done it for a while?
We should also say in the prayer that because if you're a priesthood holder for the prayer, it's really helpful if you gain confidence in saying a prayer just spontaneously without reading anything. There's only the 4 steps to a prayer. First one is you address Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother. Second one, you say thanks for something. And the third one, you ask for something. And the last one, you end in the name of Yeshua. There's only 4 things. And if you say it spontaneously, then it allows your heart to come out in a greater extent than if you were reading something, which allows your heart to come out too, because you're still saying words that you want to say. But so I just want to encourage everyone to just practice that. And I'm not saying don't read something if that's what you're most comfortable with, but that it's better as priesthood holders that you be able to just do those 4 simple steps spontaneously and allow the energy to come out and your feelings to come out.
And don't worry about.
Don't worry right or wrong or
Are
make a
we
mistake.
listening and judging? Because
Yeah,
nobody judges
is,
on a prayer. That's just foolishness. And I think we're all beyond that. But so does anyone want to volunteer?
Sister Erica.
Great.
All right.
Okay, so after we do the Lonica and the Harmony of 3, then we'll do Sister Erica will pray. Okay, great.
All right, Brother Reggie.
Okay.
Take your claw on your jaw and sink them together. Forward as they spin into blurs of sparkling light. Claw jaw. Backwards. Horizontal clockwise. Counterclockwise. Vertical clockwise. Counterclockwise. Perfect sync and harmony. Add the Z. Z ka jaw. Forward. Backwards. Horizontal clockwise. Counterclockwise. Vertical clockwise. Counterclockwise. Z ka jaw. In perfect sync. In perfect harmony together.
Heavenly Mother and Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that we're here today
to gather and learn about the oracles and the many other things that we need to learn about as a family of light. We're so thankful to be here together through this technology that we have, and to always be learning and growing in the Celestine light. Um, uh, we thank you in the name of our brother Yeshua. So be it.
So
I
be
think I
it. Thank you, Erica.
So be it.
Thanks so much.
So I want to ask a question before we get started when everybody joins in. If you feel like you have an entity in your house that has been here for a long time and you can't, how can you get rid of it? I've tried all of the ways that I know from my Haitian heritage, which is salt, floor wash, sage, but that does not seem to be working.
Do you know what kind of entity it is, or you just thought
Don't know. Don't know.
What you feel?
Don't know, but we can feel it, and the baby sees it, and it's. I knew it was here when I moved in here, but I moved in here when I moved in this apartment. I was in a hospital giving birth, so my husband at the time moved us in here, and he didn't clean it out the way I would clean it out.
I think
So
the first step is you have to determine if it's an actual entity or just a negative energy.
Hello, everyone.
From some.
could be a negative energy. Could be a negative.
Oh, there we are.
It may be more of a negative energy. That could be. It could be
Yeah.
that.
So if
It's an annoyance, and I want it out.
right. Well, so the first step would be to determine for sure whether you're dealing with an entity or a negative energy.
Hmm.
Hold on a second. Words.
Get your scarf, your neck thing on.
Oh, and before I forget, I had a dream that I was at your house in Oregon, and when I went there, they told me that you were no longer there. They had turned it into a bank, and they said that you only came there on Sundays, and that I can only see you guys there on a Sunday. And it was weird to me. It woke me up out of my sleep.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Okay, so back to the best way for just to start with as a priesthood holder, you should be able to just ask Elohim to give you a knowledge, in prayer. Is this a negative entity or is this a negative energy that's left over from someone who's lived there in the house in the past, or
That's what I think it is.
died in the house in the past, or any number of things that would leave negative energy there. And once you've determined that, if it's just negative energy, that's an easy thing to get rid of. Now, you said that in your Haitian heritage, you use some things that oftentimes are very good at getting rid of negative energy. So you say you use salt and you burn sage. Is that correct?
Right. Use the floor wash, and like it will keep things calm for a little while, but not
Now,
long enough.
what
Like
kind of-
they do more in-depth things, but to me it errs on the side of not being like magic, so I don't do those things.
What kind of floor wash did you use?
Floor wash consists of like ammonia, basil, thyme. I don't know. I have it written down. That's part of my book of.
Is the negative energy feeling more in one particular room in the house, or is it anywhere in the house?
It's everywhere in the house. And my Will's sister, who is she says she like she can see spirits and stuff like that. She every time she comes, she sees it here. She says
she's
it's
actually
like I'm
seeing a
lost
spirit then, rather than just a negative.
Right.
She's seeing
Right.
an entity of some kind.
Right. She sees it every time. She said it doesn't bother her or whatever, but like it's there.
The easiest thing for me to, because we're all together here, is if you just give me your physical address, I'll come over and take a look tonight, and we'll see what's there for sure. And then
I have you.
Oh, we have the address. Okay, well, I'll come visit your place tonight and just check out what's there, and then give you a definitive best way to get rid of it. But I mean, the easiest way, if you ask Elohim as a priesthood holder to get rid of it, that alone should take care of the problem.
I'll do that.
Without doing anything else. But the other thing that would be helpful is, you talked about basil and thyme. Did you use bay leaves in there at all?
I don't think I used bay leaves. No, honey, did I buy bay leaves? You don't know.
So anyway,
I don't think
let me come tonight, check it out, and then I will let you know tomorrow what your best course of action is for that.
Thank you so much.
Other than just a simple prayer to Elohim, which will probably take care of the problem all by itself.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the Priesthood meeting for October 2nd, 2022.
Lots of over here.
So today we're going to talk about telepathy. This is kind of part one of our telepathy talk. And this is important as priesthood holders. The ability to have telepathic connections is really helpful. And so I want to start helping you to be able to achieve that. And to do that, you're going to find a lot of things that you may have had conceptions about telepathy are not actually what telepathy is all about. And so I'm going to help you we're going to go step by step, but I'm going to ask you first, before we even start, just to see what people's conceptions are, to tell me what you think telepathy is. So, and I'd like everybody and it's okay if you repeat what someone else said too, that's fine. But I'd like to know ahead of time what people's concepts of what telepathy is before I actually begin talking about it. So Dacha, you're on my screen right now. What's your concept of what telepathy is?
Well, what I think actually telepathy is what I do. I mean, when I'm with my husband and when I'm with Alex, and we are just so relaxed and in sync and in harmony, we just think the same thought. It's just like I'm catching his thought. Oh, okay, let's go eat there. The vegan or the vegetarian sandwich is awesome. And I just say the thing, or he thinks it and I say it, or I think it and he says it. And with my cats, I use also telepathy when they meow or something, and I just get a knowing in this area that he wants more food or he wants out or just cuddling. It's like I get a knowing here, like I'm not in their head, but they are in my head, which is a bit different when I do a soul talk Reiki Ryoho, my technique, when I can see the thoughts in the clients, like on a light commercial, just going through their mind. And this is not telepathy. I just can see their thoughts, and their guardian angels are telling me. It's a bit different. But in telepathy, in my mind, I have a thought which I speak out for the other person when we are in sync and in harmony. For me, this is telepathy.
Thank you very much, sister. Anybody else want to comment? And if you have the same thing as that's fine, but tell us what you think about telepathy.
So yeah, definitely I agree with Dr. what she said. Like with me and Erica, like sometimes it is sporadically, like I will think of something and maybe we have a conversation and a thought goes in my head and she'll exactly say the words that I was thinking. I'm like, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. It happens sometimes through our marriage and stuff like that. And same thing with her too. So I think telepathy is like more communication, I guess, with that other person that you're connected with, and just knowing what they're gonna do or think. And that is, I'm talking about in relationship wise. I don't know about anybody like outside. Like if I see somebody, I don't know what they're thinking, but I could pretty much feel their energy or how they act. Like, okay, how this person is gonna act, or maybe react to something, or maybe like just energy wise. I think that's what telepathy is. So
Rather well. Anybody else want to give us their thoughts on what telepathy is?
Well, it's a common. It's the ability to have conversations without moving your mouth with either your wife or husband, or either with nature, trees, cats, dogs, birds, grass, everything around you that's energetic and has the ability to communicate. Because that's how animals communicate with other animals. telepathically. And that's how, plants communicate also with other plants telepathically. Same thing as trees. And myself, same the situation as Brother Will and Sister Dansha. With my wife, we have this communication mentally sometimes. Sometimes I'll say, "Hey, you need a massage right now?" I was just thinking about, how'd you know? I said, "Yeah, I just know." Or something like, sometimes we have conversation and we say the same word at the same time. And I think it's a token we say to each other. We say something like backsies or something like that. And we say the same words at the same time. We're like, something like that, because we're at that same frequency. And I do the same thing when I teach my students. I kind of know what they're thinking when I'm in a class teaching particular technique and form. They always say, "Oh man, you're gonna be with us today. Wow, I don't know why I came in." And I will tell them, "I know what you're thinking. I know you're saying that it's gonna be a tough class today. And guess what? I'm gonna make it tougher now." And they look at me like, "How did he said that?" Stuff like that. Just basically hearing the thoughts without, having the mouth move, and that's how I define it.
Thank you, Brother Reggie. Anybody else
Sure.
want to comment on?
Yeah, well, my
Uh,
thoughts. Oh, who wants to go first? Go
Hold
ahead.
on. I just wanted to say that I've had the similar experiences to what's been said today with regard to a close member of the family and recognizing. What I wanted to say is that I find that it happens when we're on a high, or I'm in a happy mood, or some that's when I experience it. I can't say that I've identified experiencing anything like that telepathy when I'm in a poor state of mind, or there's negativity going around. So I don't know whether it's still telepathy applies when you're still in a negative state of mind or not.
Well, that's a great comment, Brother Chris. And let me just comment on that comment real quick, because that's a good observation. Is that yes, telepathy can occur anytime, but also yes, it's very unlikely to occur as easily and when you're in a negative state, because your whole energy is disrupted. So you're not able to make that connection, which is a higher type of connection because of the disruption in your energy if you're not in a good mood or in a bad state. So yes, it is still possible to have it in those states, but it's much less likely. Thank you so much, Brother Kiel.
Well, yeah, mine is basically my thoughts of telepathy. I've always been, it's just a small voice that you kind of hear within your mind, I guess, is what I would imagine it as. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brother Kiel. Anybody else want to add anything? Okay, well then let's go ahead and get started talking about how everyone can have greater telepathy. Okay, here we go. Everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is how telepathy starts. Telepathy starts basically, you're not seeing anything, or you're not hearing anything, or it's just blank. It may be blank white, maybe blank black, but it's blank. And that's how it starts out. Now, the interesting thing is, from everything everybody said, those were all correct. So the traditional concept of telepathy is communicating by voice with someone. So if I was communicating with Samara, I would, without moving my lips, I'd say, "Hey, Samara, how you doing today?" And she would reply back without moving her lips in her mind, "Well, I'm doing great. How are you doing today?" So that's actually what, the general concept of telepathy are things like that. And that is certainly something that you can do with more advanced telepathy, but that's not the way that telepathy generally comes for most people. So today we're going to learn how you can start having more telepathic abilities. Now, multiple people here commented on how when their wife or husband that they do have those telepathic connections where they say the same word at the same time, or they think the same thought, like, "Hey, let's go have pizza tonight at the pizzeria down the street," or whatever. That is great, because when you're with someone that you're so energetically connected with, it's not a stranger. This is someone that you connect on multiple energy centers with, and so you're very in harmony with them, and that includes in your Z and your Ka. And so that's the easiest person to have telepathic communications with. And if you live with a person like that right now, a husband, wife, or someone that you're basically with them all the time, you have a very great relationship with them, that's the person you should really start practicing on expanding your telepathic abilities with. But the concept of getting a knowing rather than actual words that you're having a conversation, but a knowing of something, that's the basics foundation of telepathy, a knowing. It's the knowing that allows someone who speaks one language that the other person doesn't speak, that they can communicate a knowing that they may be communicating in their language or their thoughts that's received by the other person, and they understand 100% exactly what that person was trying to communicate. Whereas if they had been using words and one was speaking Russian and one was speaking English, as for example, they may get the words, but they don't understand it. It is possible with very advanced telepathy to even understand words that someone's speaking in another language. But as you're learning it, you wouldn't be able to do that. So as you're learning telepathy and becoming more proficient in it, if someone is speaking to you in another language, it's going to come through as another language. More advanced, you would actually be able to understand what that language was conveying. But going back to the beginning is that you start to get a knowing, and that knowing starts in two ways. You can actually just have a knowing where I just know this. For instance, you may sense danger. You'd be walking down the street, everything looks perfectly normal. There's no, threatening looking people on the street. There's nothing threatening going on, no fires or anything. But all of a sudden you get that feeling that's coming on that something's not right. There's a danger here. And that feeling can be coming from multiple things. Doesn't have to be telepathy. Could be that your auric field is sensing disrupted energy. That's one thing. Or you could also be sensing if there are, for instance, say there was a bad person with an evil intent that's hiding behind a tree and you don't see them, everything looks normal, but they're hiding behind a tree. Their evil intent could come through as a telepathic warning to you. Beware, there's something here not right, even though you don't see it. And that could be a combination of your aura and your telepathic ability. But the whole concept of getting a knowing is very important. In that knowing, your next level that you're going to go to is you'll start to see an image. So let's say there's a bad person hiding behind a tree on a path you're walking on, and you don't see them visually with your eyes, but you're sensing something's not right. And if it's just your aura sensing it, then that's as far as it goes. You sense something's not right, but you can't define it. But if you're using telepathy, which you can use, because that person's putting out negative thoughts of doing perhaps harm to you or someone else, you can sense, Sonny, go back to the perch. You're irritating me. Go back to the perch. Pulling my clothes off here. I got to take a break and put the bird outside. I'll be back. You guys can talk about it some more.
My children.
Yeah, I once had my first interesting telepathic, when I didn't hardly even know about it at all, was a cat that spoke to me and it said, "Don't leave me." And it said it every day for a week because we were getting ready to move. And I didn't claim the cat. It was a wild cat that the kids had taken in. I didn't really want anything to do with the cat, but it told me every day as I walked up into my house, and it was sitting on the porch waiting for me. And I heard it like word. That's the only time I've ever heard telepathy as a spoken word. Don't leave me. I mean, the first time I jerked around because I could hear it so loudly, and I looked at the cat and I thought, nah. And then of course it happened day after day for a week. So that was fascinating. That's the only time I ever got to hear it as a voice speak.
What are you going to tell them?
So what happened to the cat?
Oh, well, I ended up taking the cat with us. Because
Oh.
basically none of us could decide, because it was kind of a wild cat and couldn't even be in the house. It would just go crazy. So how are we going to carry this cat and 2 weeks camping across the country? And finally I said, okay, the first thought when I wake up is going to be my answer, because we couldn't come up with an answer. So, and before I even opened my eyes, the words flowed out of my mouth. The cat has to go with us. So obviously it needed to come with us.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Sky.
Yeah, it's just fun when we have those cool unusual experiences.
Yeah, like the neighborhood dog that when I saw her, it's a female, and when I heard her in my mind, not with my ears, that was strange. I heard her in my mind saying, "Oh, how lovely! I haven't seen you for days." And I said, "Who's talking in my head?" And it was her. She was just she was just her head was she was looking straight at me with her head in front of her owner, and she was like, "Good day, wow, you're so beautiful, I haven't seen you in days." And that was very exciting to hear.
Oh, that was. How cool. Well,
Yeah.
my friend that has a very strong telepathic connection with her two cats, she was in a house visiting and had her cats with her. And her one cat said, "Uh-oh." And she looked out and the cat was looking out the window. Well, her other cat had slipped outside somehow and was outside. And so that's how her cat inside warned her by saying, "Uh-oh." That was kind of funny, I thought.
Okay, so we're back, birds outside, so shouldn't have that distraction anymore. I apologize for that. Okay, so let's look at your auric field. If you've watched the Spider-Man movies, that's your spider sense. That's your spidey sense. So when your auric field comes in contact with another auric field that is disruptive in some way, it's going to feel weird to you. But your auric field, if under normal circumstances, it just works close to your body. So if you hold your arms out this far, that's about the extent of your auric field under normal circumstances. So if there's somebody who's causing any kind of negative energy, you're not going to sense it unless they're very close to you, unless you've purposely expanded your auric field out further to sense things like that. But let's say, for an example, that there is somebody who's hiding behind the tree with bad intents, and you're walking along a path towards that person, and your spidey sense, your auric field, senses something's amiss. But the problem with that is that even if you sense that, it gives you no definition of what's amiss. Is there someone hiding behind a tree? Is there a bomb in the garbage can that you're coming up to? You don't know what's amiss. You can sense that something's not right, but you don't know what. So it's kind of hard to defeat an enemy or a threat if you don't know what that enemy or threat actually is. And of course, you can always just turn around and run away. That's one possibility. But with telepathy, you can find out what and where. And that's a super important, helpful thing. Maybe you have a lost child, and your child is lost, and you're trying to find out where they are. Well, they know where they are. They can see around, unless they're blindfolded, they can see around, or their eyes are closed, where they are. And you can see that too with telepathy. They don't have to be participating. You can look into their mind and you can see through their eyes with telepathy and see what they see. It's a very powerful skill, and it's one that's extremely useful, and especially as a member of Celestine Light. So let's look at, as you're learning this, because I created this lesson to help you. These are the type of things you're going to experience as you're learning and perfecting your ability to do this. So you really understand what to look for and what's coming as you're practicing the skill. So I'm going to kind of go through. So our first thing, we started off with basically a blank page. And now I want everybody to see this picture here. See if I can make it a little bigger. Okay, nope. Let's try. Okay, everybody see this picture? Does anybody recognize anything in this
See
picture
something
right now?
there.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it is when you're.
Yeah, it looks a little bit foggy.
Yeah,
I see something.
Something.
but you can't really say what
It's
that's
like food.
can you? Yeah, it looks like could be food. Yep.
Yeah,
but
like a buffet or something right here. Like that's just
that's
tray.
that's a possibility, but you really can't define, other than maybe it's food, but maybe it's not food. You can't define that, and that's kind of when you're first learning telepathy and you're receiving the knowing. Now, the knowing could just be a knowing, like I know this. And that's all it is a knowing. But it can also be a visual image. And that's actually what you're shooting for, is to get that visual image, because that visual image is what allows you to zoom in and really see whatever you want to see. But it starts like this. When you're first learning to get these visual images, you're just going to have something that you can see there's something there, but you really can't define what that something is. But as you start focusing, and focus, as we know from so many things, is so important. Whether you're starting a new business in life, or trying to make the business you already have go faster or do better, or if I'm trying to write a book, focus is the key to making things happen. So if you okay, well, I can see this little something foggy thing. Well, what's next? Well, as you focus a little bit more, you're going to see it a little more. But to do this, you don't try to focus on the whole thing. You see, the whole thing's too big. And this is where people get off track, is they think, okay, I'm going to try to focus, but there's so much in that picture. It's too much. So just take a portion of the picture. Let's take this portion right up here in the upper left corner and just focus on that portion. Okay, so now we're just focusing on that. That's what we're seeing right here. I just cut out and cropped out this portion out here. So now we're just focusing on this portion. And can anybody see anything in this picture that is more definitive? If you see anything at all, I'll try to see if I can see the figure here.
I see like a right in the what's it, the third? There's like a turquoise blue ball here, and there's like something right next to it. It's yellow. I'm not sure. This is like peanuts on the right next to the blue little circular ball there. For me, that's what I see. So it looks like food.
Anybody else see anything distinctive about what they're seeing here that they could definitely say, well, this is what it's looking to be defined like?
I see a yellow color on the other side next to that turquoise blue. Yeah, right there.
Here or here? There's two yellows. This
There.
one?
That before the first one.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
All right. Well, what else can we definitively see in this picture?
It's like a tray. I don't know, tray of
Tray.
food or
That's
something.
a great one. The tray.
Yeah.
That seems to be pretty clearly defined right here.
Bit of an
With these
outline there.
lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about this right here? Anybody see anything in that thing right there?
Almost like looks like a football, but it's like a small, or it could be a
Yeah.
almond maybe. I'm not sure.
All right, well, let's go. So now we're focused on just a small part of the bigger picture that we saw originally. So now we're going to go and get a little bit more clear. Okay, now what do you see in this picture? Same picture,
It's food.
more clarity.
Yeah, it's food. That right over here, that looks like some kind of meat or some kind of rice over here on the right hand side. That looks like nuts in the middle. That looks like, for me, it looks like, I don't know, it's like a ring or some kind of blue object right there in that tray. Like Brother Kill said, a tray. And the other one looks, well, I can't see that one there, but that looks also like a little football. But the middle tray looks, and the right tray looks like that's food. And this one looks like nuts, and this one looks like a little obelisk or something like that right next to that tray. And it is gray. The tray is like probably like a stainless steel from what I see it.
What kind of food does it look
No,
like?
let's not go that deep, please. All right, so let's.
Something again.
Teaspoon there,
All
tablespoon.
right, so now we'll go to the next picture here. Okay, getting any more clarity here?
A little bit.
All right.
A
so
spoon in the middle.
Yeah, that's what it
It-
is.
spoon,
yeah.
What
In
else
a
is in this picture now?
gray tray, food, tray. And the right
Napkin.
side, left side I can't see.
Some
That little
tongs right here. See the tongs?
tongs. Yep.
What's this
And I
right?
think,
That's paper
Napkin.
towels and
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that?
Oh,
roll-
yeah.
Oh, now I see it. It's a paper towel. Okay, yeah, the roll towel, right?
All right,
Half used.
so now this is actually something really important, because now you focused on one little area of the larger picture you originally saw in your telepathic vision. And now you're focusing on the smaller area. And what are you looking for in that smaller area? Well, we can see that these are some kind of food. But we don't know what kind of food that is at this point, because we don't have enough clarity. But we do have enough clarity to see that this is a spoon and these are tongs and this is a roll of paper towels. And that's important, because when you're seeing a scene, let's say you were looking for a lost child as an example. And when you're seeing that scene, it's very important to help your telepathic vision come in. And I want to emphasize again, it's very important when you're helping your telepathic vision to come in, to be able to zero in on something you recognize. Well, you can recognize this as food, but you have no idea what kind of food it is. You may have a guess, but you don't know. But you can pretty sure say that that's a spoon, and pretty sure say that that's a tongs, and pretty sure say that that's a roll of paper towels. And so when you're trying to get greater clarity in your vision, it's extremely important that you try to find something that you recognize in that. So let's say that you're somebody's lost in the city, all right? And you're trying to find where they're lost in the city. And you initially saw a bunch of buildings, but that didn't help you. So you're trying to zero in on something that is distinctive. So as you're looking through, maybe you see a fire hydrant that someone's painted in some kind of facial figures and looks like it has eyes and stuff. So it becomes something very distinctive that can be placed at a certain location in the city. Or maybe you see some stairs leading up to a brownstone building, and you can see the address on the building, and you can see it's a brownstone type of building. So that can give you some clues as to where you are in the city. So as you're looking to expand the focus of your telepathic vision, seek and search for items that have some recognizable thing. So we can recognize this is for sure a tray. We can recognize for sure these are tongs. We can recognize this is a spoon, and these are some kind of food. So now you can go to the next stage. The next stage, you get greater clarity. Again, now we can definitely say these are tongs. This is definitely a tray. This is definitely a spoon. This is definitely a roll of paper towels. It's definitely some kind of food. You can go to the next stage. You're going into that focus. So once you get enough focus, now you can really focus on items you can recognize. So absolutely, this is a spoon. Absolutely, this is a tray. Absolutely, this is a paper towel roll. What this is over here, who knows at this point, but you focused on something that is 100% definitive. That's what it is in your vision. You've zeroed in on the narrowest possible spot of items that you recognize. So now you can go back to a larger vision. So now you can take in that whole vision again in that greater clarity that you now have. And now what do you see?
Ooh.
Bug.
See bugs.
A lot of stuff, a lot of bugs.
A bug
Bugs.
spray.
See bugs.
Dang. Where are we at? We in some
Spiders.
kind of country? Well, it's a delicacy somewhere, but yeah, wow.
Yeah, this is a picture of common Thai food from Thailand. So if you ever visit
Yeah, I
Thailand,
kind of figured. Okay.
then did you like to eat spiders and scorpions and all kinds of fun things, maggots,
Wow.
things like that.
But they might taste good. We've never tasted, I mean,
Yeah.
Thai food, I love Thai food. I would be open.
That
to
feels good.
trying
I
it.
never, yeah.
Well,
It's all about the sauce.
Sauce, yeah.
Forget what the image looks like.
The seasoning.
so yeah, when I used to teach wilderness survival a long time ago, and eating bugs and insects was our primary food for protein, but people who weren't used to eating bugs, and that just would make them want to heave what they saw what they're actually eating. So what we would do is we take all these different edible bugs and we'd put them on a roaster tray, like a cookie sheet type of tray, and we would roast them over a fire until they all dried out, and then you could pulverize them into powder, and you wouldn't recognize what you're eating, and you could sprinkle the powder on your other food, and you're getting the protein without having to have any of the revulsion of what you're actually eating.
Yeah.
Remember the chapter where one of the apostles is making the mystery soup? And he said, you don't want to know it.
Yeah, Judas Iscariot.
Yeah, Judas.
Yeah.
Because they were eating bugs.
They were eating bugs. Bugs are a great, huge source of protein. There, in fact, you can buy online a lot of places that sell bugs, and you might try that sometime, roasting them until they dry out and pulverizing them into a powder. Put it in one of your spice jars and sprinkle it on your food. They oftentimes have really cool tastes, and as long as you don't recognize what you're actually eating, then it doesn't seem to be a problem. I know for Brother Chris lives in the UK. I think they have multiple online sources for buying bugs for food grade bugs. Now, once you have this clarity now, so we showed the steps to evolve into the clarity of your telepathic vision. So remember, this is telepathy. This is you having initially seen, going way back to initially when you first started, you saw something, or actually when you first started, you would say you had your aura. Your aura was sensing something was off. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe you just got a vision all of a sudden, telepathic vision. Maybe you didn't even ask for it, but you saw something that came to you. And the very fact that it came to you is your higher self saying, hey, there's something here you need to look at deeper. So that was where you started. And then you went from there trying to focus on just a certain area so you can maybe get more focus, which you were able to do. You got more focus. You went to greater focus still. And then you went to greater focus still. And then you zeroed in even more so you could get ultimate focus. And then once you had that, you could back out in that ultimate focus and go to the full picture in greater focus. And now we see that what was looking like could have been any kind of meat or food is actually bugs. Now, once you've got this greater focus, you can actually get greater focus. You can zoom in and say, well, I want to see things a little closer. So you can actually zoom in and see things closer once you've got that total clarity. You have that ability, just like if you're looking with your eyes, you could be looking at something very close to you, or you could be looking at something far away. It's the same way with telepathic vision. Once you have the scene, you can zoom in just like you would with a camera, and you can see whatever part of that scene you want to see. Now, doesn't that look delectable? Don't you just want to
I want
chomp
one of
down on
those
one of those
tarantulas.
spiders? Okay, let's do this for another scene. The same exercise. We're going to start with this scene. So here's a very obscure scene. You really can't see anything here, but you do see that something's coming in telepathically. You're sensing something telepathically. Your body, your higher self of your body knows that there are things you should know that you may not be aware of with your physical senses. And so when you get something pop into your head, an image that pops into your head, maybe an image of a person, it may be an image of something you can't even decide what that image is. You just know there's something trying to come there. You need to take the time to focus and get greater clarity.
Before you go on, does anybody get a sense of
What you're
this is
looking at
about?
here.
I think it's a beach.
Yeah,
Like you're on the ocean, a beach. I look like I see the sky, maybe a boat, sand. I'm not sure.
I see a park bench and some grass. That's what I see. Yeah, and some trees.
Yeah, that's what
Uh,
it looks like to me
yeah.
too.
Yeah, like a little park and there's a bench and some trees and bushes, and that's what I see.
Great. All right. Well, let's get a little more clarity going through here to the next picture. See if any more clarity comes out. We zoomed in on a part. Okay, so here was the big picture, and we're zooming in on this part right here because, as you said, there is something. These are just kind of obscure shapes that go all over, but here's a little bit of an angular shape here. So that's something that is probably man-made. So we're zooming in on that portion, trying to get greater clarity. And now what do we see?
Cabin,
Yeah,
like a house, cabin, trees,
trees.
grass.
Yeah,
It's
grass.
a fence. Mhm.
Trees and
Yeah,
We've got greater clarity. So now that we've zeroed in on something, and again, this is important to realize where to start. This was in this whole picture, the only thing that could jump out was there were some angular, very angular lines here, which normally indicate some kind of man-made structure because nature doesn't have all these kind of angular lines in it and things that you're going to see. So we go and we focused on that, and we still don't have a lot of clarity, but we have enough clarity to see what in this picture. What are we seeing that we can for sure define in this picture so far?
Yeah, it's the cabin with the fence and the trees and the, I guess, mountains in the back, I believe.
yeah, it's
And-
mountain.
Yeah, and I think there's another on the right hand. I think there's another cabin over there. It's real tiny on the right hand after the roof. You see guys right there
yeah. I
on the
see
right
it in
side.
the back.
It's real tiny. It might be
Yeah.
another cabin across from it. That's what I think. And the grass.
The
All right,
trees.
let's see what the next image would show. So we're looking for greater clarity. We're doing, what's the 5-letter word we're looking for?
Clarity.
Focus.
Oh,
Focus.
focus. Oh,
Yeah, so we want to get focused. So now what are we seeing here?
The barn.
Okay, there could be a barn. Yeah, that's another one down there, like I said, all the way at the end. And there's another one behind next to that one. Grass, mountains, trees. Yep.
Like
Okay, so let's-
Switzerland barn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So let's
It's a barn,
try to get
okay.
a little more
I
focus.
said cabin. It's a barn.
Okay,
All
so
right.
now we've got total focus.
Oh,
There's the mountain.
oh,
Yeah,
wow.
barn.
So once we have
Yeah,
total
there's 2 other
focus,
barns over there. 2, another one.
yeah. So once we have total focus, what's the next step that we can do from there?
The whole
Zoom in.
picture.
Look at the whole picture,
the
expand
whole picture.
out to the bigger picture.
Yep.
So that was the original picture we were looking at originally, but now when we expand out with that total focus, we're able to see everything in clarity. So yes, here's that other little barn that you saw behind, and look over here's a couple other buildings here.
nice.
So now, once we have the full picture in greater focus, now what's the next thing we can do?
To see where it is.
We can zoom in. We can zoom into something else.
Zoom in.
So we can go and say, okay, let's zoom in a little bit. So there's that cabin.
I have
much
a
greater.
question. So this picture that we're looking at right now, all of us, was the very first picture we saw that was faded. And then the
Correct.
next one were zoomed into more to the barn.
Right.
that
So
correct?
yes.
It looks familiar. But
Right. So this picture here was going back. Was this picture here originally? That was the original picture. And
right. Okay.
we
So
went from there, we saw the angular structure. That was the only thing that really stood out in that very hazy picture. So we zoomed in on that, we could see as a cabin. We got greater focus and greater focus. And once we had greater focus, then we're able to expand back to the original scene that we were able to see in greater focus. And once we have that, we can zoom in if we want to go to certain parts of that. So for instance, we can really zoom in on that cabin. We can really see the buildings behind it. We can see the type of trees that are here. We can see the mountains that have snow on them up here in this upper portion. And we can zoom into other parts of the picture that may have been more obscure. So even when you're looking at this picture, you may not have noticed these buildings here as buildings because they're farther away, but you may look at that and say, well, that kind of looks angular, probably a building, but you can zoom in further and you can see something like that. And you can see greater clarity there.
Well, actually, this is a very digital.
Right, but
This is not a very high res picture.
right.
In your mind, you're gonna see
Much greater clarity. So that's the technique I wanted to teach you guys today. And I want to go back over it again from the beginning so it's real clear. Is telepathy starts with the knowing, like you know what your wife or husband is going to say, and you say the same thing at the same time, or you have the same thought to go somewhere. Or it can be an image that comes into your mind. And it doesn't have to be something that's bad or threatening. You could say, maybe you're looking for kumquats, which is a fruit you can't find in every store all the time. And you're in the city and you're trying, well, I got 8 supermarkets within 5 miles of me. Do any of these have kumquats? And you think about the kumquat and what it looks like, you think of the different supermarkets, and an image will come into your mind. And this is a telepathic image. And where is that telepathic image coming from? It's coming from people who are in that store who have looked at kumquats. So they know there's kumquats in the store because somebody's seen them. And so your telepathic thought is you see that store and you know that that's the store that has the kumquats. And so you don't waste time calling around to, hey, do you have kumquats at this store? And they say, no, you call the next one. You don't do that because you've seen a telepathic image. You know what store to go to. But it starts vague. You're focusing on one area that has something distinctive about it so you can see more about it. Greater clarity, you're focusing more, going deeper. Now you see greater clarity, so now you can expand back out to the original picture. And once you're out in the original picture, you can zoom in to greater clarity on any part of that picture that you want to see. Okay, So that's what I wanted to share with you. This is part one of our telepathy lessons. But at this point, I'll take any questions that are related to that.
You have another picture? You have
Or-
another picture?
Nope, I have no other picture.
Oh,
I took those two, the bugs and the,
He's ready for
I
more.
figured
yeah.
we start with the bugs, which are kind of gross, and then we'd end with a nice pleasant picture. So, comments, questions about the foundations of telepathy?
So from what you say, I'm gonna try to sum it up, right? Is if you don't see the image, you want to focus on a one aspect of that image. And when you focus on, you're gonna determine the details of that, and then zoom in on that detail, clarity. And then you're gonna see, and you can still, focus on that. And then after a while, you're gonna see some imagery from that, and from that you can build a greater clarity and greater focus. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So let's take it to the city. You guys are in New York City.
Right.
And let's take, you see a scene, and again, we'll start off with a scene that's completely blurry. You know, it's somewhere in the city, but you can't make out any images. So you get a little more clarity, and in that little more clarity, you can see still some hazy shapes that might be buildings, and you can see some hazy shapes that might be trees. But one thing that does stand out is the fire hydrant, because that kind of stands up and it's right in the right place. So you zoom in on that fire hydrant and you get great clarity on that fire hydrant. And it may just be like any other fire hydrant. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is that you clearly know now that this is a fire hydrant and you zoomed right in on it. And once that comes clearly into focus, then you can back out to the bigger scene and you can see the buildings. You can see the tree. You can see a building and you can see it has an address on it as an example. Now you can zoom in on that address to see actually what is that numerical number of that address. Or perhaps it's on a corner of a street and very small that you normally wouldn't be able to see is the actual name of the street. There's a street sign there, but because you have the full focus now, you can zoom in on that street sign and actually read what street it is. So yes.
Thank you.
One question, does telepathy go beyond time? Can we look into someone else's past? Say, if I have a client, I get images. I don't know if I'm using telepathy, but when I search for the cause of the pain or the illness or the trauma, I get images. Is that telepathy? Is telepathy go in time, in the future, pre-mortal life maybe?
Okay, telepathy doesn't, but divination does. So when you're dealing with magical energies, there's three primary magical things that you're going to do: spells, enchantments, and divination. And divination, you can define, or using divination, you can go to the past, you can go to the future, you can go to the present to divine something that's going on with someone. And it's not a telepathic communication, it's not a telepathic thought, but it is a divination. So it's a little bit related to telepathy, but it's really not the same thing. But it actually has a lot of knowing when to use which one is an important thing. So if you want to go to the past or the future, that's definitely, you want to use divination. If you're looking at a client and you're saying, okay, I can see this problem they have, what's the root cause of this problem? They had a bad childhood or whatever. With divination, you can see that and you can know clearly what it is.
Great. So 9 years I was using divination. I know now the name.
So can I just ask one question?
Sure.
These images that you mentioned, is this part of it come to you in the form of a clairvoyance or clairaudience or one of those categories, or would it be different for every person, in terms of how they visualize it?
What the things you just mentioned would also be in the category of divination, clairaudience, those would be also divination rather than telepathy. Telepathy is always going to be either a knowing, just a knowing, or it'll be picture in your head that you can investigate further, or it'll actually be words. And oftentimes when I should mention on the words thing too, that when you're first learning telepathy, or even when maybe you don't even know that you're learning telepathy, but you're actually starting to experience it between your spouses, for instance, husband and wife, you may have a single word that comes through. So you may hear the word, for instance, if someone's in distress, you may hear the word help, or you may hear your own name. You just walk along all of a sudden, and you'll hear in your mind, Chris, Reggie, and you know, where did that come from? And that's all you hear is your own name said once, or a single word like help without any definition. And this is where telepathy becomes essential, because then when you hear your name, someone's calling your name, or someone's saying a single word help, and even though you may not even be aware that you have telepathic abilities, this is coming in telepathically. And so now, as you're developing those telepathic abilities, this becomes if you have those type of things occur, you hear your name out of the blue, nobody there, but you hear your name, it's in your mind, it's just very clear and it's audible. That's when you really want to be able to investigate deeper. So that's when you turn immediately to focus. I just heard my name. I just heard somebody say help. I need to see where that's coming from. And so you focus on where you're like following a trail backwards. Where did that name come from? Who said that name? And you get a picture in your mind of where it came from. And then you can expand on that picture, and you can focus on a different part so that you can see it very clearly, and then you can expand back out. So it's the same principles that work like that. Has anybody experienced that before, where out of the blue you hear your name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The first year being married to Alex, I have experiences minutes, half an hour talking to him that he was, and after 20 minutes and half an hour me talking, answering questions to him, we were just watching TV. I was in his arms, and I just hear him speaking, and I was answering questions. And then after 20 minutes me talking, I just go like this, and he says, what were you answering to whom? These were in my head questions. I didn't ask you anything. It just came several times randomly. When I figured out that he was my soulmate, all my energy centers just multiplied. I couldn't breathe. My auric field just was over the sky. And this very often happened, me having whole conversations with him, just out of the blue, answering some questions that I really heard.
Yep, excellent. And then now I encourage anyone who's married, start practicing with your husband or wife. That's a great way to expand your abilities.
So this is kind of interesting when you say knowing, because I just had a ball of light just hit, because I teach Kung Fu, I teach martial arts, right? And throughout, my training, we are trained to fight, or spar, right? And as you go up levels, you got to know exactly, what techniques you're going to use, especially if you're fighting somebody who's very experienced. And throughout my years of training, I fought, my masters and my grandmaster, and they would do certain techniques, and I would automatically know what they were doing, and I would basically block it or avoid it before they it's kind of interesting. It's kind of difficult to explain it because it's automatic now, right? It's just because I'm tuned in, and it's like a telepathic connection, and I kind of hear what they're gonna do, right? And I've noticed that it's been automatic throughout my years. And this happened, I think, last week when we were just talking about it right now. I was like, wait a minute, this is what I've been practicing, right? But on a different level, where it's more for combat, right? It's more for like, in a situation arises in combat, you gotta know what the other person's gonna do first and foremost to counteract that person's attack quickly and immediately. So that's kind of interesting how telepathic abilities could be used on that level too, as well as what you just demonstrated just now. And it's good to do both at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great use of telepathy if you're in combat with someone to know ahead of time what they're going to do, so you're ready for your defense or your counterattack. That's awesome. One other thing I want to emphasize here, and this is really important as we're learning these special abilities that we all have, and that's the key thing. We all have these. It's very easy. I've seen this happen so many times where someone they'll look at someone like me or Reggie or Dansha who have done a lot of things with these different abilities, and they'll think, oh, well, they can do it, but I can't do that. And you need to totally purge from your vocabulary the words I can't, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have that ability. Anything that says you can't, just put that out of your mind. And you may say, okay, well, I'm going to try this telepathic stuff that Brother Embrosewyn just taught. And you try it and you have no success. You still just see that white page. That's all you see. And so you have no successes. So what I've seen happen with some people is say, oh, I can't do it. They tried one time, and then after that, I tried one time, it didn't work. I can't do it. Trust me, you need to, anything worth learning takes more than one time of trying to do it. And anything that is worthy of, whether it's learning Kung Fu or learning some academic thing, you're going to probably fail multiple times before you succeed. But what happens, I see people, is they fail those couple of times and they stop trying to succeed. They just say, I can't do it. And that's an energy that, yeah, if you say that, that's the energy you're putting in, and we won't be able to do it. But it's not because you can't, it's because you stop trying. And that's a very key thing for this or anything in life, really. If you're not having success at something, that don't stop believing in yourself. If it's a worthy cause, and you believe, for instance, I remember Yeshua and the apostles would sometimes think, well, I can't do this. They would say the same thing. I can't do this. I can see Miriam do it, but I can't do that. And Yeshua would tell him, he says, I've told you, you believe in me, and I've told you that you can do this. And so if you say you can't, after I told you you can, you're basically saying you don't believe in me. And so that's important. I don't want anybody to believe in me, but I do tell you that you can do this. And I know Brother Reggie, Sister Dansha will tell you the same thing. And they'll also tell you that they didn't just automatically be able to do marvelous things from the first time they tried. It was a process, a step-by-step thing that may have taken years. And today, I've been doing things like this for decades, but I still get better and I learn new things every single week. There's something more that I can do or learn that I didn't know or couldn't do before, because I keep working at it. I keep practicing.
So it's something else to put in your practice, your daily practice. That now there's like so many things. You might want to make a schedule, like Tuesdays and Thursdays you do practice this, or 5 minutes this, and because otherwise, we have busy lives,
And
and it's easier to go, oh, I don't have time.
Yeah, scheduling is very helpful to actually getting things done. And then going back to the concept of saying I can't do that, or that's not something I can do, or I'm not worthy, or any of those things like that, is change that around. And it's okay to say I didn't succeed because there's something I need to learn more. That's okay. That's not a negative thing. Say there's something I need to learn more is fine. There's something I need to practice more. That's fine. To say I can't do it, that's not fine. So think about, if you don't succeed at something, just the concept, well, why didn't I succeed? I didn't succeed because I need more practice. I didn't succeed because I need more knowledge. Any of those things are fine, because those are all things you can gain. You can do more practice. You can gain more knowledge. Just don't say you can't do it and stop trying. Brother Reggie, Sister Dot, you want to add anything to that?
Well, what I could say is that everything that you said is true, because when a good example for me is when I started martial arts, I was seeing, advanced people doing spectacular feats, and I was green, and I was just, green and young, and I was like, wow. And I saw one of my master, doing a triple flip and land, and I saw my master breaking with his hands, feet, arms, leg. I saw a lot of masters and a lot of grandmasters doing the same thing, and I was like, I can't do that. I do that. I don't know why I'm here. I can't do that. So I remember one time, one of my senior brothers in the school was telling me, stop saying that. Stop saying you can't do that. Just practice. Just practice. Keep practicing. So, and then I remember one time I was fighting, I was in a sparring contest. I was fighting this guy, 6'4", 260 pounds, huge. He's been taking martial arts for like 10 years and had to fight him. Let me tell you something. That was not a fun sight to see. I'm glad it wasn't recorded because, I was I was screaming like Michael Jackson. My glasses were flying all over the place, and it was not fun. And that really, that really made me really like disappointed. But he came to me and he said, "You did good. Just keep practicing." Right. And that was the word of encouragement that he told me. So I kept practicing. I kept practicing. I kept practicing. One, because my ego was bruised, right? That's first and foremost. And then, but second, I wanted to see what I could do, right? And I practiced and I practiced, I practiced and I practiced. And then fast forward, I'm doing things like he did, even more, even much more, I'm doing spectacular things that when I started out I couldn't do, but because the thing is that I practiced and took out of my head the word I can't, right? And I said I will no matter what. It might take me a minute, but I will do it, and that's what I do. That's my mantra. It will take me a minute, but I'm gonna still do it. So that's what I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I proceed?
Yes. go
Is
ahead.
that all, Brother Reggie?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. So in my case, which I believe can help Brother Tom or any of the young ones in the priesthood, is all of my powers and abilities just grew up out of need. I never imagined that I never knew, say, take it Reiki, or me being able to do spells and enchantments and even divination. Today you saw that today I knew the word divination, what I was doing 9 years. I don't know about the existence of all of these beautiful things, but I had the need. Well, also mine, the telepathy between me and someone in heavens, it might be Yeshua, it might be Miriam, it might be just my higher self that is a step in the celestial realms. Someone is helping me transliterate the oracles. And as Brother Embrosewyn says, it's getting better and louder every single day. But it all comes out of need. I didn't say to myself, okay, I'm bored. I don't have anything to do. Let me do spells and just start learning about spells. No, it all came out of need. When I was 19 years old, I was poor. Well, I didn't want to ask money out of my mother. She just worked for 4 people and get me and my sister through college. And I just needed money not to ask from my mom so I can help myself through college. And it just I had this need, and I just prayed to these 2 guys that were protecting me all my life, my 2 beautiful guardian angels, and said, how can I have more money? But the need was righteous. I needed through college to help me go through college. And they just get me the idea to use green candle and just pray for money. And the moment I start speaking to my guardian angels and to God, to Elohim, the words just flew through my mouth in rhyme. I started speaking with rhyme, and it was a little enchantment, a little spell over a green little candle, which I had in my drawer. Luckily, I don't know how, and I always get the items I need. I just need, or like using divination, I need to see the cause of the stress. So I say, okay, guys, my guardian angels and a beautiful girl, and the guardian angels to my client, let's go, take me to the travel, I need to go, show me things. It's all came out of need, and I never doubted Elohim or the angels or the energies I summon for me having money to go through school, me having something to eat. I sometimes I didn't had food. I just need to pay for my books and or place to live. Twice I was out in the streets, but it just came, and I just believed that once I'm all there, and I have no doubt that it would be fulfilled. Like I wanted to change my destiny, to stop being in this negative turmoil in the hell I lived. And I just asked for God to give me my destiny now, here. I was ready, no more waiting. And I never doubted that they would give me that what I wanted. It's for me, it's all came out of need, and I never doubted. It's I never even thought that I can do it. I have a need to do it. There is no can't, even not in my mind. I just go there. So this is how the more I like I posted on MeWe, the more I am with the spirit of Elohim, the more I gain all my supranormal abilities, all my psychic normal abilities, all the gifts. The more I believe, the more I have no doubt that these gifts are mine and I am here to use them, the more they flourish and evolve. So this is how I have everything that I have. I know it's there, it's a gift. So I just unwrap it slowly. As the worthy I became more and more, it just unwraps itself more and more.
Thank you, Sister
So
Dancha.
Can I say one last thing, if it's
Yes.
okay?
Please.
Just to piggyback on what Sister Dansha said, before I came to the Celestine light, here, I didn't know anything about the Lanica. Yeah, I didn't know anything. I heard about chakras and stuff like that, but it was, it was more of a diluted what was being said. So, as I mentioned before, when I heard about the Lanica in one of the meetings, general meetings, I got hooked. All right, I got hooked and I got excited. And I got hooked and excited. I said, if that could allow me to dive deeper into my paranormal abilities, I'm gonna do it. So the excitement and the eager and the how should I say, the extreme joy in learning something different is what pushed me to do the Lanica every day. And I've been doing it almost every day for 2 years straight since I've been here. Every day. Right? So it is like Sister Don said, for her it was a need. For me, it was excitement. Right? It was excitement and being joyful about it. Like, if the apostles could develop this kind of power, and Yeshua says this is what you have within you, I was like, wait a minute, why am I not doing it? That's what I said to myself. I said, why am I not doing this? Why is everybody like, why am I not doing it? So I'm gonna do this. If Yeshua says this is what is needed for you to do to develop your paranormal abilities, why am I not doing this? So that's what I said. That's what I said every day. I'm gonna do this. and I've seen the expansion. You know, like you said, Brother Embrosewyn, a couple weeks ago, you said my voice was like I forgot what you said. I forgot what that long instrument that you have.
Oh,
And I
the
was thinking of,
didgeridoo.
yeah, and I was thinking about it, and I was doing it the other day after you said that, and I was like, oh yeah, it does sound like, because it was vibrating throughout the whole house, right? And I felt it, and when I first did it, it felt like a little when I first did the Lanica, and now it's like boom, 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 right? So I'm like, whoa, something is happening here. And so and that's what I said, because it's, you know, I got excited in doing this, right? And now, you know, I'm a martial artist, and I've been studying martial arts for a long time. And I combine these things to my martial arts studies. Combine them, right? I'm also, you know, a life coach. I combine all these things in what I do. And it's been very helpful in terms of like it's like I could sense things. I could tell things. I could tell what my students are thinking. I could see things happening. I could feel things happening. I can know things happening. And it's very, very interesting. And that's only me doing the Lanica, right? That's only doing the Lanica. Now this is another added you know, skill I'm gonna add, of course. But when you do the Lanica the way I've been doing it, I do it because out of excitement, because it's like a superpower. You know, I'm into Marvel comics, so I'm into the X-Men, I'm into Spider-Man, I'm into all those things. So I think of those things that, you know what, I'm a Marvel superhero tapping into my power, just like the comics have been. You know, I'm like Green Lantern, I'm like Spider-Man, I'm like, you know, I don't know, X-Men, you know, Xavier Charles, you know, I'm like, you know, Scarlet Witch, all those things. So, you know, and they always say art imitates life, right? So the reason why you have this kind of, you know, books and comics is because, you know, somewhere out there's people actually doing stuff that they do. And we have the ability to do that in a more holistic, Celestine way of doing it, because it's righteous, right? So, you know, that's the reason why I did it out of excitement, because it kind of pushed me, and I got excited. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Brother Reggie and Sister Doncha also. And something Sister
Thank
Doncha
you.
brought up that just in passing, but it's a good point going back to telepathy, is that distance is not a restriction for telepathy. So not only, for instance, if we wanted to have telepathic connection with Brother Chris over in the UK right now, or Sister Doncha in North Macedonia, we could do that very easily. And with telepathy, but you can go beyond that. When you have communication with Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, with your guardian angels or anything like that, that's happening over tremendous distances, and it happens instantaneously. So telepathy is a wonderful way to communicate, because it's distance, no matter how great that distance is not a limitation on telepathy.
Well, and just
Yeah.
the thought, it would behoove us all to get more interested in developing it, just to communicate with each other in case we didn't have communication like this. What if all the power grid went down and we had no computers, no phones? How would we communicate? We couldn't. So just keep that in mind, that the more we can practice with this, to where we can communicate with each other, you know, eventually easily. So we could say what's going on with us. Well, yeah, we have fires all around us here, or don't come here, or yeah, let's go meet there. You know, let's all try to get to it. But we can't do any of that unless we can use telepathy. So
That's a good point. Thank you, Sky. I just wanted to add a little hint. The human brain works on a trigger. If we just say, we need a reason why to start doing something, and being able to communicate as a family of light is a good reason. Being able to hear your guardian angel is an excellent reason. To gain more happiness is another reason. Out of need, another reason. Just you need the perfect trigger. Why would you like to raise your gift of telepathy on a whole another new level? This is the point where where most people block. They don't have the right reason why to start. Even as, okay, Brother Embrosewyn said, let's do it for homework. It's my homework. So you just have all the focus in telepathy. You need a reason why you need to do and to develop your psychic ability. So give yourself a good reason why, and then it will just flourish.
This is true. In
Yeah.
fact, you know, all of us have finite lives. The very fact that we're all here today at this meeting right now is because we've decided to invest our time of our finite lives. We're investing our time, just like making a financial investment. We're investing our time in this meeting. Why are we investing our time in this meeting? Because we feel that it's a good investment, that we're going to get a good value for investing the time that we're here. And I want to thank everybody for being here, because that group energy is so important. And when Brother Reggie was talking about the Lanica, and this is something I wanted to go into more in our future meetings, because in fact, we talked earlier in another meeting about being able to reach out and find those magical energies that you need. This is not related to telepathy now, this is totally another subject, but finding those magical energies you need and bringing them into your spell or your enchantment or your divination, whatever it is that you're working on. Those things will only work if you're able to find those energies that are necessary and bring them in and imbue them into your spell or your enchantment or your divination. And so I want to go into greater detail on that, just like we went into greater detail starting on telepathy. But in our future meetings, we need to go into greater detail. How do you find those magical energies? How do you identify them? How do you pull them in? So if you're thinking about that in the Lanica, if you aren't already doing the Lanica at least once a week, and more often is better, but at least once a week, that is one of the foundation blocks to being able to find those energies. Because the Lanica helps you to become oracally aware of all things around you. Life, whether it's a blade of grass or a bird in the air or the person standing next to you, or energies. And you've got to have that awareness to be able to pull in the energies. It's not just a matter of saying the words. You know, I see so many things that there's so much magical stuff that you can go on Amazon and stuff. There's all these books, do this magic, do that magic, and it's all about say this incantation, do this stuff. And in truth, those things aren't going to do anything by themselves. Just saying the words may get the energy excited and stuff, but if you can't reach out and grab that energy and pull it in and put it where you want it, it means nothing. And so doing the Lanica is a hugely important and valuable thing to do. And it's that repetition of doing something like the Lanica. The first time you do it, even the first several times, it may seem pretty awkward and, well, what do I do next? But after 6 times or so of doing it on a fairly consistent basis, it just becomes automatic, and you don't have to think about it. You just go through those steps, which then allows you to really reach out to your aura and feel those very essential energies, becoming sensitive to them so that you can use them for other things.
Well, the Lanica is the one thing that Yeshua said in the oracles should be done every day. It's the only thing he said.
Twice a day, actually.
Hmm.
He said, do it when you get up and do it before you go to bed. And he explained why, because it will bring the balance and the energies into your body that you need for your day and for your sleep.
It's like, if you take as an example, take something that has a strong smell like vinegar. Okay, so take a smell of vinegar. And if way in another room, far away, there was some vinegar and you came in some distance away, and you might find this little teeny hint that just kind of went and left of that smell of vinegar. But it wasn't strong enough. You weren't even sure it was vinegar, it just came and went so fast because you're so far away from it. But as you get closer to it, it's becoming, I'm smelling vinegar somewhere. I don't know where, but it's somewhere. And as you keep smelling and getting closer, you're actually finally able to identify where that vinegar smell is coming from. And it's the same way for magical energies, is that you begin to sense the energies are out there that you need, but you can't identify them clearly enough to be able to pull them in. So you kind of have to go after them, just like you do with smelling that vinegar smell or any other thing. You locate where it is, and once you locate it, then you can use it. We're going to have to wrap up today because we have a meeting coming up here very shortly. So I love you guys so much, and I testify to you with all my heart, all my soul, all my energy, that these things are true, that you can do everything. Yeshua said anything that the apostles saw him do, they could do too. And it's the same for us. I can't is not in your vocabulary anymore for anything. You can, but it goes back to that investment of time. Is it worth your time to make the investment to gain these skills? Because maybe it's not. For some people, it's not, and that's fine. That's the life. But if your investment in time is worth it, then please invest the time, because there is that reward at the end. And how long it's going to be on your journey may not be the same as someone else's journey, shorter, longer. It's not really relevant. It's the investment of your time. You have finite time. Is it worth investing? I testify to you that it is worth investing. And these are skills that will help you every single day in your life, with your relationships, with your work, with your safety, with your family. All of those things these are, whether we're talking about magical energies or telepathic, psychic skills, these are all things that will help you in every aspect of your life. And I testify to you of that in the name of our wonderful brother, Yeshua. So be it.
So be it.
I don't talk
Thank
much,
you.
but I just want to say, Brother Embrosewyn and Brother Reggie and Brother Dasha, all the things that you're saying are true. And I see this in my own life. I can actually hear my guardian angels. I can actually hear the angels now. I can actually hear them speak to me, and it's an amazing thing. I'm really growing in my Celestine light, and I'm so thankful to all of you as my family, because it's just a wonderful thing. And I'm so glad that I've met all of you, and I'm just very grateful.
And we're so grateful.
Thank you.
We're grateful for you, Sister Erica, and for everyone.
We love you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear Brother Embrosewyn, you mentioned the word entity. What is the difference between entity and a being?
Nothing really. There's though entities can be much more primitive than a being. So
Right,
when you
that's
think of a being, you think of it's got a brain, it's got a heart, it's got emotions, it's got relationships. That's like a being can have all, like a demon's a being. You know, demons have emotions, they have relationships, they have a mind, they think. An entity can be basically barely above a thought form. That can just be a coalesced type of negative energy that has a very primitive instinctual things that can do from an instinctual standpoint. It doesn't really have a brain that thinks things out, but it can have instinctual actions that it does. For instance, in the oracles, when they went to one of the other kingdoms, when they took all the apostles, the other kingdom, and Miriam put a protective sphere around them, and all these entities got attracted to that light. That's an instinctual reaction. It's not but that's an instinct, because the light, as long as it wasn't too strong, would feed them and nourish them.
You probably
Entities are always negative, or they are positive entities too?
if they're on your aura, they're
Yeah,
negative.
they're it's not that they have intentions to, you know, they're not smart enough if they're an entity to have intentions. They do things instinctually. So yes, if they're attaching to someone's aura, and it's an entity, not a being, you know, not like a guardian angel watching over them, something like that, but it's an entity that's attached to the aura, that's always going to be a negative, because it's disrupting their normal flow of their aura. So even if the entity doesn't actually have any kind of bad intentions, it's causing a bad result, because it's disrupting the energetic field of that person.
It's kind of like bugs, you know, they're attracted to light, and so they are attracted, in the case of Miriam, to the light of the orb, and to the light of people's auras. Although typically the people that have entities attached to their auras are not very bright.
Or they're in a very bad state. So for instance, entities are a good question. That's actually a good question to talk on today, because entities tend, any kind of super bright light, they don't like that, but they do like sunlight, because that's a food source for them basically. But they also require, in order to be able to attach to someone's auric field, they require that auric field to already be in somewhat of a disrupted state. So if someone has a healthy auric field, entities will not be able to attach to them. So, but if they have an unhealthy auric field for whatever reason, emotional, mental, physical, it becomes easier. And then if you look at, think about a semi-dark state, I'm talking about physical darkness. So a semi-dark state, so it's light, but it's not darkness, and it's not bright light, it's kind of in between there. Those are places that you're going to find a lot of people who tend to have disrupted energies, like bars, as an example. They go to bars and the lighting's not so good. Or there are hospitals where people have a lot of physical problems that they're in the hospital, prisons. So those are all places where there's a lot of disrupted auric energy. And if they also simultaneously have not bright light, not complete darkness, but a dimmer light, those are going to be places that entities are magnetically drawn to. Again, that's not something they're thinking about being drawn to. They're just drawn to. That's their nature. And so people who are in those places, hospitals, bars, prisons, are going to find a lot, almost 100% of those people are going to have entities on them. 100% of them, because they're in an area that there's a higher concentration of entity energies in those places. And yes, as Celestines, we can clear those energies. In fact, I don't think we've ever had a lesson on that, have we? On the using crystals?
No.
Okay, write that down. We need to have a class on
That's
here.
like a basic, one
Yeah,
of the
that's-
very first things we learned and did.
So that's a class that we should have had a long time ago. Well, we can show it right now to the high priest group.
Right, because it's really easy.
Yeah, and we're getting a little behind schedule here, but
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
So I have a quick question. Maybe you could help me.
Sure.
What's the difference between a higher self and spirit and intuition and all that? Are they all the same?
Well, your higher self is based, when we say your higher self, it's
Yeah.
basically saying, you are a being that's existed for thousands of years already before you ever in this body that you're in now. And you
Mhm.
have all of those, not all of that knowledge and connections from your thousands of years of existence, however long you've been since your soul was created. But in order to come here to this world, of course, we have this veil. So we don't remember all these things because we wouldn't be able to develop much faith if we had a total memory. That wouldn't work at all. And also, we wouldn't make the same efforts in this world if we had 100% sure knowledge of everything that had come before and everything that's going to come after. Well, hey, this is a blink of eternity. Why bother? And so these things are important, but you can still tap into that higher self, and that higher self is still there waiting to help this more mundane self that lives in this physical life right now. And so you can get insights through your higher self that knows things that this physical self doesn't know, but your higher self knows. And so it's just another avenue to receive knowledge. So there's not a lot of external avenues to receive knowledge, but we ourselves are one of those avenues too, through our higher self. And go back to your original question, because I only caught the first part of it, so I want to make sure I'm talking about everything you asked. So
Yeah, you did. You are absolutely.
And you also asked about intuition. How is that?
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Intuition is simultaneously a skill that this physical self develops in this life, or you can, but it's also tied to your higher self. Because your higher self knows things that this self doesn't know. And a lot of that intuition that you think, well, I'm just intuiting, where's that intuiting coming from? It's oftentimes coming from that higher self that's making sure you get that knowledge passed on to help this self. But it's all you. It's still just all you. It's just different aspects of you on different
Got it.
levels.
So when people, and your spirit, what's that? It's not the same. It's a different thing, right?
Well, no, your
That's the soul.
spirit is your soul.
Correct. Yeah.
So that you that's existed for thousands of years, maybe tens of thousands of years, I'm not sure how long your soul's existed, but
Sure.
it's different for different people. But that is also your spirit. So when this physical body dies and we say your spirit rises, well, what is your spirit? Your spirit is your soul, which is eternal, but that soul is always in a vessel. It's not just some, armorous force that's out there. It's in a vessel. Well, the vessel right now is the physical body you're in. That's your vessel. Before you came here, you were in a premortal body. That was the vessel. The premortal body isn't the body of flesh and bone like we have now, but it's a body that's tangible. Looks like the body we have now, only looks a lot better, of course. But but it is, it's a tangible body. I can come and I can hold Samara, or whoever. I can have conversations. I can go to school. I can learn. And when you pass on from this life, your soul isn't just floating around aimlessly. It's going to be in a vessel. It's going to be a body. And so
what happens? Oh, I'm sorry. I know you got to go, but what happens to your higher self, though? That's kind of interesting that you say, right? So I know you got to go, but I'm just curious how did it come? But your higher self.
I was all connected.
Yeah.
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 Intuition.
Yeah. That's because bro, what I hear is that your higher self is a version of you that already existed for millennial years, right?
Yes, exactly.
Going through whatever you're going through, your higher self did, right?
Yes.
Now, your intuition is the messages from your higher self.
Oftentimes that is the case, yes.
Right. Okay. Now your spirit and your soul is an intangible aspect of you who's living in this physical feature.
Yes.
Okay. And they're all the same. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, yes.
That soul name is you.
You, Brother Reggie, you are like a Russian babushka, the dolls, one in one, and with the movie Interstellar all together. So this is the answer.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I love that analogy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good example. All right, well that's exciting. Okay. I was going to share something else with you. Let me go ahead and do this real quick because it's
okay. And with your soul name, like I call my higher self by my soul name. When I want to talk to my higher self, I address my higher self as my soul name. So that's all part of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your soul name is the easiest way to make a connection to your higher self. Is that you look in the mirror, look at yourself, call yourself by your soul name, and say, "Hey, I need some knowledge that I know you have, and I want." And because you're a part of me that I need to tap into. And
got it.
Just boom, there you go.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.
All right, so you are going to collect in your own collection some really cool crystals. Like this is a nice natural double terminated crystal. This is
Do you mind these? Or?
Not that one. And this one is just a nice quartz crystal. They don't have to be quartz crystals. They can be other things.
Shell, the dark
for instance, this is a spiral shell, and this particular spiral shell, it doesn't normally come with these spiral cuts, so that was done by man-made, and this shell was spiraled. This is the normal shape of the shell, and then it would normally have ridges and valleys. So whoever did this originally, they cut out the valleys and they flatten the ridges, and it works great for that purpose. Or you can have special types of crystals, like this is a amethyst scepter crystal. But basically, these are all like wands. You think about it as wands. And the whole purpose of a wand, of any kind of wand, is to be able to focus and amplify your power. So if you're using this as an example, let me just camera up a little bit more. So if you're using this as an example of a wand, and the key aspect of a wand is it has to be something that can send the power. Well, normally a shell by itself would not be very useful, but when it's a shell that's in this very pointy shape and has a spiral to amplify the energy, it becomes useful, very useful as a wand. any of the quartz crystals, because they have points on the tips, and especially if it's a nice center point, become very useful. So for instance, this amethyst scepter has a very nice, I don't know if you can see it, but the point is right in the center there. That's a super useful. And then the amethyst scepter on the end even further amplifies the energy that comes through.
You
So-
can also use your personal wand.
Yes,
If you
yes,
make
if you've made your own wand, that's even better. So in any case, the whole purpose of a wand is you've got all this energy swirling inside of you that you're coalescing, you're focusing your own energy, you're making the power great, and you're sending it down your arm, and the wand becomes an extension of your arm. So it's like pointing your finger. But now it's an extension of your arm. And as it goes through that wand, it even amplifies the power further, and it's pointing it in a very thin line. Well, that's one of the reasons it's amplified. It's not that it's just amping up the power, but it's focusing all the power that's coming through your arm and now through a narrower vessel, the wand, so that it comes out super powerful. And the wand can also amplify as well. So when you're trying to get rid of entities, this is the whole thing we were talking about for getting rid of entities. This becomes an extremely useful tool. And you don't have to, normally you send with your right hand, you receive with your left hand. When you're doing this with entities, you can do it just with your right hand, or it's okay to do it with both hands.
Yeah, we like to use.
Because that gets a circular energy going inside you that helps amplify things as well. So ladies, do you want to demonstrate getting rid of an entity
Sure.
with each other? So
Okay,
okay.
you can totally say, I got the end of it. We'll do the quick draw.
Stand up because I got the camera up there.
Oh, okay,
Okay, so
So we're gonna pretend
then there's one right here, so.
Yeah. Okay. So then I would just take,
get a little closer so you're in the picture there. We're standing
Oh,
back a little
yeah.
bit. So.
normally I wouldn't be this
Right, she
close,
let
but
it
I'd
be
be
this close to me.
afraid of
doing
hitting
it.
her or something.
Right. Yeah, don't let her hit me.
Okay. There you go.
All right. So I like to hold my wand like this,
Mm.
but
Okay.
personal preference. And then I take my stance, and then I just see where I am going to focus my energy, and then I inhale, and on the bottom of my breath, I just concentrate that energy so that when I shoot, I'm gonna go, ha! And it's gone. So it's, I find with using my voice as part of projecting, it gives it more.
Well, it's actually
More. It's good. When we first started practicing and we go,
And we went,
and you go, no,
it's.
you didn't get rid
It's
of
not
it.
gone.
Yeah, your voice is key. It's just like in judo, when they throw people around the mats and the person gets thrown and they land on the mat. The two things that they normally do is they'll actually slap the mat with one hand and they'll say ki. And saying that sound helps the pain not be there as much when you hit the mat. You don't even notice it then. It's like, oh, that was no big deal. And for getting rid of entities, there's multiple things that are, if you're just trying to do this quick and easy. Okay, let's say you go into a room of a bunch of people that were in a bar and they all have entities. And when I say entities, they can have a lot of entities. It's not like you just have one. I've seen people with as many as 20 entities on. Each one of those has to be dealt with individually if you're getting rid of them. So, yes, as Samara said, I've watched in their own education that when they'll go and they go, ha! I says, well, no, that didn't quite do it. They are, the more energy you put into it, the more energy that gets projected out. And this becomes interesting if you're working with somebody who has a tendency to have a kind of diminutive personality, so they never speak loudly, they're always quiet and stuff. And you say, well, you gotta really let out. And they go, huh? No, that doesn't work. Try again. So, and so it becomes a little more challenging for some people than others, but you got to be able to, the more you put into it, the more that comes out and the more effective it is. So then when you're actually, actually somebody's got a bunch of entities, you just go, and they're all gone. All right, brothers and sisters,
Brother-
say goodbye here. We do have another appointment coming up here very shortly, so we're gonna have to say goodbye for today.
But we're not doing that.
Yeah, for the high priest, stay around for just a few minutes. Like I said, I have another appointment coming up that I have to be at. So, but for the high priest, please stay here. Everyone else, we'll see you next week, I hope. I noticed that we have more at the priesthood lesson. We need all these people also to be here, all my brothers and sisters at our regular meetings as well, because we learn wonderful things there, just like we do here. So I'll see you all next week.
Namaste.
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 Namaste, everyone.
Love and light.
Love and light.
No.